Hey guys, Miss Richo here. I'm going to be talking to you guys today about how to write comparative pieces for Black Mirror and Fahrenheit 451. I've been meaning to make this video for a little bit. I'm really sorry it's late, but here it is now. So let's get started. So we're going to be talking about comparative essay writing, and then at the same time we're going to talk about Miss Richo's 8 tips for formal. It was requested by my class, so here it is. Okay, here we go. Alright, step 1 for the essay. You need to assess the question. It's just like a text response in that regard. You need to write out the question in your own hand, so you can think about each word in the question, and then highlight your keywords, so you can make sure that you address them in the contention. Okay, now the example that I'm going to use today is one of our essay questions from back in the practice questions, and this is the question. So it says, but how can I leave myself alone? We need not to be let alone. We need to be really bothered once in a while. And then the question asks, both texts show that it is easier to conform to the expectation of society and act as everybody else does, but it is not always morally right. Do you agree? Okay, so it's kind of a two-part question. So you've got the quote, and then you've got the question. Something to keep in mind as well, if there is a quote with the question, it is important that you address the quote at some point in your essay. Whether that is that you just address the idea in the quote. So for instance here, the idea in the quote is that the things that are bothering our characters is something that they can't just ignore, that they have to actually do something about it. Okay, which makes sense for why it's in this essay. With this question, because the question is all about how people kind of rebel against society. So that makes sense. It's going to be pretty easy to kind of swoosh it in there somewhere. And then what I've done is I've picked out my key terms, which you can see here. Easier to conform, and then, but it's not always morally right. Okay, so they're my key terms that I'm going to have to make sure I address both parts, the easier to conform bit and the not always morally right bit. I can't just ignore one, I've got to address both, and I've got to make sure that I'm using those kind of phrases as often as possible. Alright, my first tip for formal, get yourself some fresh cuts. Okay? Something new, try something fun, maybe it's a multicolored mullet. Why not? Or maybe, it's an 80s buzz cut. Who am I to judge, ladies, gents? Get out there, try something fresh. Okay? Look, you could go helicopter. It's bold. It could also be a mode of transportation for you. Maybe it could be a whole theme. A whole, aeroplane kind of air transportation theme that you kind of go with. I think that would be exciting and fun and bold. Another one, personally my favourite, because you know how I like my dogs, a spaniel do. Why not? Why not? Go crazy. I mean, you only live once. Why not? Ooh, now here's some special pieces. You've got obviously the extreme bowl, loving it, but also a bit of a princess theme, a bit of a spin on the old tiara. Live it, live it. Now, you know how I love a redhead. This is one of my faves. The mushroom. I mean, that hair must have taken a lot of work. And you can see his date appreciates it. And I think that's key. And, the dress and the hair, they match. It's beautiful. I mean, I'm jealous. Alright, step 2 of your essay. Work out your contention. So write out, once you've kind of highlighted your key terms, write out what the answer to the question is. Okay, so for instance, here, sorry, I'm skipping ahead. I'm all over the place. Okay, so with my example question, I've highlighted my key terms. Now I've gone down to my contention. Here it is. Both Fahrenheit 451 and Black Mirror show that conforming to societal norms is the ticket to acceptance within the community. However, they both agree that when this conformity clashes with a person's values, it is important to do what is morally right, even when that may mean difficulty. Moreover, the text highlights that if a person, highlight that if a person will only feel, that a person will only feel truly freed from the shackles of their oppressed society if they voice their dissatisfaction with the expectations of society. Okay, so what I've done there is I've not only basically produced a contention, I've produced 3 arguments out of it. Okay, and that's a really great way to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You know, have your contention, but then your contention is your arguments. Okay, that's always my kind of favorite way to do it. It's okay if you like to kind of have like a separate contention and then follow down arguments. That's okay too. Okay, you do you. Right. Oh, sorry, I should have also mentioned, you can see here where I've got like all the red highlighting in my contention, that also matches up with the key terms. So for instance, I've got easier to conform, conforming to societal norms, and acceptance within the community, you know, the expectations of society, and then conformity, clashes with a person's values, not always morally right. It is important to do what is morally right, yes, even when it means difficulty. Easier to conform, not going to be easy to conform. The shackles of their oppressive societies, if they voice their dissatisfaction, so this is like not acting as everybody else does, with the expectations of society. So I've really kind of hit those key terms or synonyms of those key terms really hard. All right, now you work out your ideas. Okay, luckily for me, I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. But things to kind of, I guess, keep in mind when you are doing your arguments. 1, try and make your arguments based around ideas rather than characters. Having character-based paragraphs is not ideal, and it's kind of quite weak in terms of a senior level argument. Okay? We prefer ideas-based arguments, particularly when we're talking about comparison, because you'll find that it's very hard to just write a essay that kind of has depth and breadth to it when you are just kind of doing 1 character per paragraph, or say 2 characters per paragraph. It's not going to cut it at this stage, okay? You guys are, you know, Unit 2, you're nearly into Year 12, you know, you got to start stepping it up. The other thing that we would recommend is that try and make sure that each of your arguments addresses a part of the question, okay? Each of them needs to have really direct relevance to the question, which is why I've kind of, with my contention / arguments, I've really made sure that my key terms are kind of in each part of it. And this is how mine breaks down. So I've got my contention there, and what you can see is actually there's a breakup. So there's the first sentence is my first argument. Conforming to societal norms is how you become accepted in the community. And then my second argument is my second sentence. However, they both agree that when this conformity clashes to a person's values, it is important to do what's morally right, even when it's difficult. So that's going to be my second argument. And then my third argument is all going to be about that you only really feel truly free if you voice your concerns or your dissatisfaction. Okay, they're my 3 arguments. Okay, tip 2 for the formal. There is such thing as too much makeup. I mean, The overlined lips, I know it's a big Jenna thing. I get that. But remember, trends fade and photos don't. I know, it's my wisdom. Also, be careful of like, you know, the, what do they call it? Like the Instagram brows, where it's like feathered at, it's like really kind of feathered at the kind of the start of your brow, I guess you would call it, and then like gets really thick and like really strong, like this lady's here. They're like really kind of like rectangular. Yeah, that trend will leave and then you will look very strange. Okay? Take it from me. I'm old, I'm wise. I grew up in the, you know, in the early 2000s where we all had like very tiny eyebrows. And then we looked back on the photos and we're like, oh my god, look at our eyebrows, they are awful. And it's too late. It's too late. All of my former photos look like that. It's awful. Next one. Tip 3. Go extra or go home, my darlings. I mean, look at this. Just look at it. This lady is living her best life. And like this guy's having the time of his life. I don't need to say more, do I? I think you will get it. Alright, now we've got some lovely little numbers that I feel like are, you know, got a little bit of extra going on. You've got the Doritos packets. You know, if you have a favourite food, girls and guys, that you really want to represent, you can't go wrong, really. Balloons, very celebratory. Love it. Maybe inflate the balloons. Get crazy. Or, you know, got a favourite character, got a favourite show that you're like super into at the moment. Why not add them on the dress? Or suit? Hey. All about the equality. Oh, teaming with a theme. Love it. You've got Miss Ramo over here. Love it. The pot of gold handbag. Oh, she thought about it. She thought about it. Even like the Croc sandals with those like little flowers. Yes. And I mean, Mr. Thunder and Lightning. I mean. And denim. A denim delight. I mean, it's too cute. My only, I guess, I don't want to say criticism. I feel like criticism is too far. Those pants. Yeah. Not sure, but brave. And God loves a trier. Okay, so, Alright, now let's talk intros. So what we need in our intro is